Every single day you make choices. Some of these choices seem insignificant. What time you wake up, what you eat for breakfast, whether you exercise, whether you read, whether you work on your goals or watch television. But here's the remarkable truth that will change your life once you truly understand that these small, seemingly insignificant daily choices compound over time to create the quality of your life. They compound to create your health, your wealth, your relationships, your happiness, your sense of fulfillment and accomplishment. The undisciplined person looks at these daily choices and thinks, well, it doesn't matter if I skip my workout today. One day won't make a difference. It doesn't matter if I don't read tonight. Missing one evening of learning won't hurt anything. It doesn't matter if I eat this unhealthy meal. One meal won't change my health. And you know what? They're absolutely right. One day won't make a difference. One skipped workout won't matter. One evening without learning won't change anything. One unhealthy meal won't affect your health. But here's where the undisciplined person makes their fatal error. They think the same thought every single day. Today doesn't matter. This choice doesn't count. The first will start tomorrow. And days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. Months turn into years. And the years turn into a life of regret. A life of what if, a life of if only I had. The disciplined person, on the other hand, understands the power of the compound effect. They understand that small, daily disciplines practiced consistently over time lead to extraordinary results. They know that success is not a spectacular event, it's a process. It's not a destination, it's a daily practice. And they're willing to force themselves to engage in this daily practice even when they don't feel like it, especially when they don't feel like it. So how do you force yourself to be disciplined? How do you develop this critical success skill when everything inside you is screaming for comfort, for ease, for the path of least resistance? Let me share with you the strategies that have transformed millions of lives, including my own. First, you must understand that discipline begins with a clear and compelling vision of your future. You cannot force yourself to be disciplined about something that doesn't matter to you. You cannot sustain the effort required for discipline if you don't have a powerful reason why. Your vision must be so clear, so compelling, so emotionally charged that it pulls you forward even when the path is difficult. Most people live their lives in reaction mode. They react to their circumstances, they react to their feelings, they react to other people's expectations. But disciplined people live in creation mode. They have a vision of who they want to become and what they want to achieve. And every daily choice is measured against that vision. When you have a clear vision of your future, discipline stops being something you force upon yourself and starts being something you choose because you know it will take you where you want to go. But vision alone is not enough. You must also develop what I call future consciousness. Most people live with present consciousness. They make decisions based on how they feel right now, what they want right now, what's comfortable right now. But disciplined people develop the ability to live with future consciousness. They make decisions based not on how they feel today, but on how they want to feel in the future. They choose not based on what they want right now, but on what they want most. This is the secret that separates the disciplined from the undisciplined. Disciplined people have learned to delay gratification. They've learned to say no to the good so they can say yes to the great. They've learned to sacrifice what they want now for what they want most. And here's how you develop this future consciousness, this ability to delay gratification. You start by creating what I call future pictures. You spend time every day visualizing your future self, the person you'll become through consistent discipline. You see yourself with the health you'll have, the wealth you'll accumulate, the relationships you'll build, the skills you'll develop. You make these pictures so clear, so real, so emotionally compelling that your future becomes more attractive than your present comfort. But visualization without action is just daydreaming, just wishful thinking. You must couple your future pictures with immediate, consistent action. And this is where the force comes in. This is where you must be willing to override your feelings, override your moods, override your excuses, and do what needs to be done. Let me tell you about the power of starting before you're ready. One of the biggest obstacles to discipline is waiting until you feel like it. I'll start my exercise program when I feel motivated. I'll begin my learning program when I have more energy. I'll start eating healthy when I'm not so busy. Friends, if you wait until you feel like being disciplined, you'll wait forever. Feelings follow action, not the other way around. You don't act because you're motivated. You become motivated because you act. The key is to start small, but start now. Don't try to transform your entire life overnight. Don't try to go from undisciplined to perfectly disciplined in one giant leap. That's a recipe for failure and frustration. Instead, choose one area of your life, one discipline, and commit to it for 30 days. Just 30 days. Make it so small, so manageable that you can't fail. Maybe it's reading 10 pages of a good book every day. Maybe it's exercising for 15 minutes every morning. Maybe it's writing in a journal for 5 minutes before bed. Maybe it's making your bed every morning. The specific discipline doesn't matter as much as the practice of discipline itself. You're not just developing the habit, you're developing the muscle of self-discipline. And here's what will happen. As you successfully complete your small discipline for 30 days, something magical occurs. You start to see yourself differently. You start to think of yourself as someone who follows through, someone who keeps commitments, someone who can be trusted to do what they say they'll do. Your self-image begins to change, and as your self-image changes, your behavior changes to match it. But let me warn you about something that will happen along the way. Your old self, your undisciplined self, will fight back. It will come up with 1,000 reasons why you should quit, why you should make an exception, why today doesn't matter. This is what I call the resistance. Every single person who has ever tried to develop discipline has faced this resistance. The question is not whether you'll face it, the question is how you'll respond when you do. The disciplined person has learned to recognize the resistance for what it is, the voice of their old self trying to keep them trapped in old patterns, old habits, old limitations. They've learned not to argue with the resistance, not to negotiate with it, not to justify their discipline to it. They simply acknowledge it and do what they committed to do anyway. This is where the force element becomes crucial. There will be times when you must literally force yourself to take action despite every fiber of your being wanting to quit, wanting to postpone, wanting to make excuses. This is not cruelty, this is kindness. This is not punishment, this is investment. You're investing in your future self. You're investing in your dreams. You're investing in the person you're committed to becoming. Let me share with you a powerful technique for forcing yourself to be disciplined when resistance is at its strongest. It's called the 2-minute rule. When you're facing resistance, when you don't want to do your discipline, commit to doing it for just 2 minutes. Tell yourself, I'll just read for 2 minutes. I'll just exercise for 2 minutes. I'll just work on my goal for 2 minutes. Here's what happens. First 2 minutes is so small that your resistance can't argue with it. Your mind can't come up with a convincing reason why you don't have 2 minutes. Second, once you start, momentum begins to build. Often, you'll find yourself continuing beyond the 2 minutes because starting was the hardest part. And even if you only do 2 minutes, you've honored your commitment, you've practiced discipline, you've strengthened your self-discipline muscle. But forcing yourself to be disciplined isn't just about individual actions, it's about creating systems and environments that support your discipline. You see, willpower alone is not enough. Willpower is like a muscle, it gets tired with use. If you rely solely on willpower to be disciplined, you'll eventually exhaust yourself and give up. Smart, disciplined people create what I call environmental discipline. They structure their environment to make good choices easier and bad choices harder. If they want to eat healthy, they stock their kitchen with healthy foods and remove the junk food. If they want to exercise in the morning, they lay out their workout clothes the night before. If they want to read more, they put books everywhere and remove the television from their bedroom. Environmental discipline is about reducing the number of decisions you have to make each day. Every decision requires willpower, and willpower is a limited resource. The more decisions you have to make, the more you drain your willpower reserves. But when you create systems and environments that support your disciplines, you reduce decision fatigue and make consistency easier. This brings us to another crucial element of forcing yourself to be disciplined, the power of routine. Routine is the mother of discipline. When you establish routines, you remove the need to decide whether or not to do something. You simply do it because it's part of your routine. Routine transforms discipline from a conscious effort into an unconscious habit. Think about your current routines. You don't have to force yourself to brush your teeth every morning. It's just part of your routine. You don't have to motivate yourself to take a shower. It's automatic. The same can happen with any discipline when you incorporate it into a routine and stick with that routine long enough for it to become automatic. The key to establishing disciplined routines is to attach new disciplines to existing habits. This is called habit stacking. If you already have the habit of drinking coffee every morning, you can stack a new discipline onto that existing habit. After I pour my coffee, I will read 10 pages of a good book. After I brush my teeth, I will do 10 push-ups. After I eat lunch, I will review my goals. By connecting new disciplines to established habits, you use the strength of your existing routines to support your new disciplines. You don't have to remember to do your new discipline. It becomes part of what you already do automatically. But here's something most people don't understand about discipline. It's contagious. When you develop discipline in one area of your life, it spills over into other areas. When you force yourself to be disciplined about exercise, you often find it easier to be disciplined about your diet. When you develop discipline around your finances, you often find it easier to be disciplined about your time management. Discipline is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes, and that strength benefits every area of your life. This is why it's so important to start somewhere, anywhere, and build from there. Don't worry about being disciplined in every area of your life right away. Choose one area, develop discipline there, and let that discipline spread naturally to other areas. Now, let me address one of the biggest challenges people face when trying to force themselves to be disciplined: perfectionism. Perfectionism is not the friend of discipline, it's the enemy. The perfectionist says, I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all. The perfectionist says, I missed one day, so I failed, so I might as well quit. The perfectionist says, I only did 15 minutes instead of 30 minutes, so it doesn't count. Friends, this kind of thinking will destroy your discipline faster than anything else. Discipline is not about perfection, it's about consistency. It's not about doing it perfectly, it's about doing it persistently. A mediocre plan executed consistently will always beat a perfect plan executed inconsistently. When you miss a day, when you fall short of your goal, when you're not perfect, the disciplined response is not to quit, it's to get back on track immediately. Don't let a bad day become a bad week. Don't let a bad week become a bad month. The moment you realize you've gotten off track, get back on track. No self-flagellation, no guilt, no shame, just immediate course correction. This is what I call the next choice philosophy. Your next choice is always the most important choice. It doesn't matter what you chose yesterday. It doesn't matter what you chose an hour ago. What matters is what you choose right now. Every moment is a new opportunity to choose discipline, to choose your future over your present comfort. And here's something that will help you maintain your discipline over the long-term celebration. Most people are so focused on what they haven't done yet, on how far they still have to go, that they forget to acknowledge how far they've come. But celebration is fuel for discipline. When you celebrate your victories, even small ones, you reinforce the behavior. You tell your subconscious mind, this is good, this is valuable, this is worth continuing. Celebrate when you complete your first week of discipline. Celebrate when you complete your first month. Celebrate when you see the first signs of progress. Celebration is not self-indulgence. It's strategic reinforcement of the behaviors that will create the life you want. But let me share with you perhaps the most powerful motivation for forcing yourself to be disciplined: the pain of regret. You see, we're all going to experience pain in life. That's not optional, but we get to choose our pain. We can choose the pain of discipline, or we can choose the pain of regret. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. The pain of discipline is the discomfort of doing what you don't want to do when you know you should do it. It's the temporary discomfort of getting up early, of exercising when you're tired, of studying when you'd rather watch television, of saving money when you'd rather spend it. This pain is temporary, and it leads to pleasure, the pleasure of accomplishment, of progress, of becoming who you're capable of becoming. The pain of regret, on the other hand, is the anguish of looking back on your life and thinking, if only I had disciplined myself to exercise, I would have better health. If only I had disciplined myself to save and invest, I would have financial security. If only I had disciplined myself to learn and grow, I would have better opportunities. This pain is permanent, and it leads only to more pain, the pain of missed opportunities, of unrealized potential, of a life half lived. Which pain will you choose? The temporary pain of discipline that leads to the pleasure of achievement, or the permanent pain of regret that leads only to more regret? Here's another strategy for forcing yourself to be disciplined. Make it public. Share your commitment with others. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your colleagues what you're committed to doing. When you make your discipline public, you add the power of accountability to your commitment. You don't want to let others down. You don't want to look inconsistent. You don't want to be seen as someone who doesn't follow through. But be careful who you share your commitments with. Share them with people who will support your growth, not with people who encourage your excuses. Share them with people who will hold you accountable, not with people who will let you off the hook. Choose your accountability partners wisely. They can make the difference between success and failure in your disciplined efforts. And while we're talking about accountability, let me mention the power of tracking your discipline. What gets measured gets managed. When you track your daily disciplines, when you record your progress, you create a visible record of your commitment. You can see your consistency, you can identify patterns, you can celebrate your streaks and learn from your lapses. Tracking doesn't have to be complicated. A simple calendar where you mark an X for each day you complete your discipline can be incredibly powerful. The X's create a visual chain, and as the chain grows longer, you become more motivated to keep it going. You don't want to break the chain. This simple technique has helped thousands of people develop lasting disciplines. Now, let me address a question that many people have, Jim. How long does it take to develop discipline? How long before it becomes automatic? The research suggests that it takes anywhere from 21 to 254 days to form a habit, depending on the complexity of the behavior and individual factors. But here's what I want you to focus on instead of the timeline. Focus on the process, not the timeline. Some disciplines will become automatic quickly, others will take longer. Some days will be easier, others will be harder. But if you focus on the process, on showing up every day, on doing what you committed to do, regardless of how you feel, the timeline takes care of itself. Don't be discouraged if it takes longer than you expected. Don't give up because you don't see immediate results. Trust the process, stay consistent, and let time work its magic. And speaking of time, let me share with you one of the most important insights about discipline and time management. Discipline is not about finding time, it's about making time. Everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. The difference between disciplined people and undisciplined people is not the amount of time they have, it's how they use the time they have. Disciplined people understand that time is their most valuable resource and they invest it wisely. They wake up earlier to create time for their important disciplines. They turn off the television to create time for learning. They say no to social activities that don't align with their goals to create time for activities that do. They don't find time for discipline, they make time for discipline. This requires what I call ruthless prioritization. You cannot do everything. You cannot say yes to everything. You cannot please everyone. Discipline requires that you identify what's most important, focus your time and energy there, even if it means saying no to other things. Most people live their lives in what I call the thick of thin things. They stay busy with activities that feel important but don't actually move them toward their goals. They confuse motion with progress, activity with achievement. But disciplined people have learned to distinguish between what's urgent and what's important, between what's good and what's best. They've learned to say no to the merely good so they can say yes to the absolutely best. This is not easy. It requires courage. It requires clarity. It requires discipline itself. But it's essential if you want to force yourself to be truly disciplined about the things that matter most. Let me also address the role of physical health and discipline. Your physical condition directly affects your mental discipline. When you're tired, hungry, or stressed, your willpower is weakened. When you're energetic, well-nourished, and relaxed, your willpower is stronger. This is why disciplined people pay attention to their physical health, not just because health is important in itself, but because health supports their ability to be disciplined in other areas. Make sure you're getting adequate sleep. Sleep deprivation is one of the fastest ways to drain your willpower reserves. When you're tired, everything becomes harder, including discipline. Prioritize sleep not as a luxury, but as a strategic necessity for maintaining your disciplines. Make sure you're eating foods that support steady energy levels throughout the day. Avoid foods that cause blood sugar spikes and crashes, as these fluctuations affect your mood and your willpower. Eat foods that provide sustained energy, foods that fuel your discipline rather than undermining it. Make sure you're managing your stress levels. Chronic stress produces cortisol, which interferes with your ability to make good decisions and maintain discipline. Find healthy ways to manage stress: exercise, meditation, time in nature, whatever works for you. Your stress management is not separate from your discipline, it's foundational to your discipline. Now, I want to talk about something that's often overlooked in discussions of discipline: the power of environment and association. The people you spend time with and the environments you frequent have a profound impact on your ability to maintain discipline. If you're trying to eat healthy but you're surrounded by people who eat junk food, you're fighting an uphill battle. If you're trying to save money but you're constantly in environments that encourage spending, you're making it harder on yourself than it needs to be. Disciplined people are strategic about their associations and their environments. They spend time with other disciplined people, people who support their goals and aspirations. They create environments that reinforce their disciplines rather than undermining them. They understand that they are greatly influenced by their surroundings, so they take control of their surroundings rather than letting their surroundings control them. This might mean making some difficult decisions about relationships. It might mean spending less time with people who discourage your growth and more time with people who encourage it. It might mean changing your social activities, your entertainment choices, even your living situation if necessary. These are not easy decisions, but they are sometimes necessary decisions if you're serious about forcing yourself to be disciplined. Remember, you become like the people you associate with most. If you want to be more disciplined, spend time with disciplined people. If you want to be more successful, spend time with successful people. If you want to grow, spend time with people who are growing. Your associations are not neutral. They either lift you up or drag you down. Let me share with you another powerful technique for maintaining discipline over the long term: the practice of daily renewal. Every day you must renew your commitment to your disciplines. You can't coast on yesterday's commitment. You can't rely on last week's motivation. Each day requires a fresh decision, a renewed commitment, a conscious choice to continue on the disciplined path. This is why many successful people have morning routines, not just to accomplish specific tasks, but to renew their commitment to their disciplines every single day. They use their morning time to reconnect with their vision, review their goals, and recommit to the daily actions that will take them where they want to go. Your morning routine doesn't have to be elaborate or time-consuming, but it should include some form of daily renewal. Maybe it's reading your goals out loud. Maybe it's visualizing your future success. Maybe it's reciting affirmations that reinforce your commitment to discipline. Maybe it's simply asking yourself, what one discipline action can I take today that will move me closer to my goals? The key is consistency. Do your daily renewal practice every single day, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. This practice becomes the foundation that supports all your other disciplines. And let me address something that often derails people's disciplined efforts: the comparison trap. In our social media age, it's easy to look at others and feel like you're not doing enough, not progressing fast enough, not disciplined enough. You see someone else's highlight reel and compare it to your behind-the-scenes struggles. You see someone else's results and forget that you don't see their daily disciplines, their struggles, their setbacks. Friends, comparison is the thief of joy. And it's also the thief of discipline. When you compare your journey to someone else's journey, you lose focus on your own path. You become discouraged. You question your progress. You sometimes even give up entirely. But your journey is unique. Your challenges are unique. Your timeline is unique. Your results will be unique. Focus on your own progress, not others' progress. Celebrate your own victories, not others' victories. Be patient with your own journey, not impatient because of others' journeys. The only comparison that matters is the comparison between who you are today and who you were yesterday. Are you more disciplined today than you were yesterday? That's the only question that matters. This brings me to another crucial element of forcing yourself to be disciplined: the power of identity. You see, most people try to change their actions without changing their identity. They try to exercise more without seeing themselves as an athlete. They try to eat healthy without seeing themselves as a healthy person. They try to save money without seeing themselves as a financially responsible person. But here's the truth, your actions flow from your identity. If you want to change your actions permanently, you must change your identity. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. When you force yourself to exercise, even though you don't feel like it, you're casting a vote for being an athlete. When you force yourself to save money, even though you want to spend it, you're casting a vote for being financially responsible. When you force yourself to read, even though you're tired, you're casting a vote for being a learner. As these votes accumulate, your identity begins to change. You start to see yourself differently. You start to think of yourself as someone who is disciplined, someone who follows through, someone who can be counted on to do what they say they'll do. And as your identity changes, discipline becomes easier because disciplined actions become consistent with who you are. This is why it's so important to start small and be consistent. You're not just building habits, you're building an identity. You're not just accomplishing tasks, you're becoming a different person. Every disciplined action, no matter how small, is evidence of the person you're becoming. Now let me talk about something that every person who tries to force themselves to be disciplined will encounter: plateaus. There will be periods where you're doing everything right, where you're maintaining your disciplines consistently, but where you don't seem to be making visible progress. These plateaus are normal, they're expected, and they're temporary, but they're also dangerous because they can lead to discouragement and abandonment of your disciplines. When you hit a plateau, remember that progress is not always visible. A lot of important development happens below the surface before it becomes visible above the surface. Think about a bamboo tree. For the first 4 years, you see almost no growth above ground. But during those 4 years, the tree is developing extensive root system. Then in the 5th year, it grows up to 90 feet in just 6 weeks. The previous 4 years weren't wasted. They were preparation for the explosive growth that followed. Your disciplined efforts are never wasted, even when you can't see immediate results. They're building your foundation, developing your character, strengthening your resolve. Trust the process, maintain your disciplines, and be patient with the timeline. Your breakthrough is coming, even if you can't see it yet. During plateaus, it's especially important to focus on the process rather than the results. Find satisfaction in the discipline itself, not just in what the discipline produces. Take pride in showing up and following through and keeping your commitments to yourself. These process victories will sustain you through the periods when outcome victories are not visible. Let me also address the role of failure in developing discipline. Many people think that disciplined people don't fail, that they never miss a workout, never eat unhealthy food, never lose their temper. But that's not true. Disciplined people fail just like everyone else. The difference is in how they respond to failure. The undisciplined person lets one failure become an excuse for more failures. They miss one workout and decide to skip the rest of the week. They eat one unhealthy meal and decide to abandon their healthy eating plan. They lose their temper once and decide they'll never be able to control their emotions. They use failure as evidence that they're not disciplined people, that they can't change, that they should give up. The disciplined person treats failure differently. They see failure as information, not as identity. They see it as feedback, not as defeat. When they fail, they ask, what can I learn from this? How can I adjust my approach? What needs to change so this doesn't happen again? They use failure as fuel for improvement, not as an excuse for abandonment. This is what I call failing forward. When you fail forward, you extract the lesson from every failure and use that lesson to improve your future performance. You don't waste your failures by simply feeling bad about them. You invest your failures by learning from them. The ability to fail forward is what separates those who eventually succeed from those who give up. Everyone fails. Not everyone learns from their failures. Not everyone uses their failures as stepping stones to success. But disciplined people do, and this is one reason why their discipline compounds over time rather than declining. And this brings us to perhaps the most important point about forcing yourself to be disciplined. Discipline is not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's not about making a huge change for a short period. It's about making small changes consistently over a long period. It's not about perfection for a month. It's about improvement for a lifetime. This marathon mindset changes everything. It takes the pressure off being perfect and puts the focus on being consistent. It takes the pressure off immediate results and puts the focus on sustainable systems. It takes the pressure off dramatic transformation and puts the focus on daily improvement. When you adopt a marathon mindset, you stop looking for quick fixes and start building lasting solutions. You stop trying to change everything at once and start changing one thing at a time. You stop being discouraged by slow progress and start being encouraged by any progress. The marathon mindset also helps you understand that there will be ups and downs, good days and bad days, periods of high motivation and periods of low motivation. This is normal, this is expected, this is human. The goal is not to eliminate these fluctuations. The goal is to maintain your disciplines regardless of these fluctuations. On the days when you feel motivated, use that motivation to prepare for the days when you won't feel motivated. Set up systems, create environments, establish routines.